Present and future values of perpetuity. Perpetuity is actually an entity which never ends. Or, in other words, if we say that it is an entity that ends at infinity, it won't be incorrect. यानी एक ऐसी एनिटी जो कभी ख़त्म नहीं होती, जिसकी इंस्टॉलमेंट्स हमेशा हमेशा चलती रहें. Mathematically, we say that an entity which ends at infinity is an entity that never ends. So, theoretically, is it possible to calculate the future value of such an entity? No. But it is possible to calculate the present value of a perpetuity. So now let's have a look at it, that how can we calculate the present values or the future values of such perpetuities. But before that, let's have a look at some examples of perpetuities. यानी हम ये सोच सकते हैं कि क्या हमारी प्रैक्टिकल लाइफ के अंदर perpetuities होती हैं? जी हाँ, perpetuities की बहुत सी मिसालें हमारी प्रैक्टिकल लाइफ में मौजूद हैं. कुछ बॉन्ड्स हैं जिनको परपेचुअल बॉन्ड्स कहा जाता है. These are the bonds which have got no maturity. यानी ये बॉन्ड्स कभी मैच्योर नहीं होते, लेकिन इनके ऊपर जो इंटरेस्ट है वो हर साल या हर महीने पे किया जाता रहता है, एंड इट इज़ एज्यूम टू बी पेड टिल इन्फिनिटी. सिमिलरली, जब हम एक ऐसी बिजनेस, एक ऐसी कंपनी की बात करते हैं विच इज़ अ गोइंग कंसर्न, द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ गोइंग कंसर्न इज दैट अ बिजनेस which is likely to continue in the foreseeable future is called a going concern business. यानी एक ऐसा बिजनेस जिसके बंद होने के ना इम्कानात हैं और ना ही उसके ओनर्स की इंटेंशन है कि उसको बंद कर दिया जाए, तो ऐसा बिजनेस, ऐसी कंपनी गोइंग कंसर्न कहलाती है. And if we are talking about the company which is a going concern paying a constant dividend to the shareholders, then these dividends are assumed to be continuing till infinity. यानी ये dividend हमेशा हमेशा मिलते रहेंगे because the company is a going concern. So perpetuities do exist in our life, and later in our discussions we'll have more applications of perpetuity. It is not possible to calculate the future value of perpetuity because this value will be at infinity. Or in other words, if we are trying to calculate the future value, we have to calculate the value of infinite number of installments. And we know that the infinity value cannot be calculated. That is why it is called infinity. यानी हम ना तो infinite number installments की value future में निकाल सकते हैं और ना ही infinity पर किसी value को जान सकते हैं. So, theoretically and practically it is not possible to calculate the future value of a perpetuity. Now let's have a look at this formula. The formula is of future value of an entity. Now in this formula, have a look at it. If we put n, that is the number of installments, equal to infinity, then the whole formula, the whole value will become infinity. That means the future value of a perpetuity is infinity. In other words, it cannot be calculated. Now, what about the present value? The first thing that comes to our mind, that like future value, we cannot also calculate the present value of a perpetuity. यानी अगर perpetuity में infinite number of installments होती हैं और उनकी फ्यूचर वैल्यू नहीं कैलकुलेट की जा सकती, तो उनकी प्रेजेंट वैल्यू कैसे कैलकुलेट की जा सकेगी? बट इंटरेस्टिंगली, वी हैव अ फॉर्मूला एंड इट इज पॉसिबल टू कैलकुलेट द प्रेजेंट वैल्यू ऑफ अ परपेचुइटी. We'll talk about the logic that how it is possible to calculate the present value. Present value is the value of installments today. यानी आज के वक्त आने वाली इंस्टॉलमेंट्स की क्या वैल्यू होगी. जब हम डिस्काउंटिंग करते हैं तो एक साल के बाद की जो वैल्यू है वो आज की वैल्यू उससे कम होती है, और 2 साल के बाद जो वैल्यू है उसकी वैल्यू आज मज़ीद कम होती है. यानी इस तरह जैसे हम फ्यूचर में आगे बढ़ते जाते हैं तो 10 साल के बाद जो वैल्यू है वो और कम से कम होती चली जाएगी. And as we progress in the future, let's say we move forward to 30, 40, 50 years, the values of those future installments become minimum and minimum. And ultimately, we start getting the values which are not even in the smallest digits, that is, which are less than 2 decimal places. यानी हमारी जो करेंसी है, अगर हम डॉलर्स या रुपीज़ या किसी भी करेंसी की बात करें तो उसकी जो मिनिमम वैल्यू है वो पैसाज के अंदर है, यानी रुपीज़ और पैसाज. अगर इससे छोटी वैल्यू हो जाए, यानी वैल्यू 0.001 हो जाए, तो इसको हम अपनी डॉलर या रुपी वैल्यू में कैलकुलेट नहीं कर सकते. इसलिए हम ये कहते हैं कि परपेचुटी की वैल्यू अप्रोच करती है टू ज़ीरो. That is, the perpetuity's present value is not exactly zero, but it approaches to zero, and for practical purposes, it is possible for us to calculate its present value. In other words, if I say that the infinite values after the 50th, 60th, 70th year do not actually contribute significantly in the present value of perpetuity. Let's have a look at this example. If we have a perpetuity of 100 rupees per year, then the value of the 40th installment at the rate of 20% interest per annum will be just 0.1 rupee. That means if we'll move further after the 40th year, probably in the 60th or 70th year, we'll have a value that cannot even be measured in pesas. So it is possible for us to calculate the present value of perpetuity up to 2 decimal places, that is the nearest pesa value. Now let's have a look at the formula. We use the same formula which we use for ordinary annuities present value calculation. When we put the value of n equal to infinity, the formula is reduced to this form. That is, the present value of a perpetuity is equal to capital R divided by small r, where capital R is the amount of installment and small r is the discounting rate. Let's put some values in it and see that whether we get the present value or not. Now, if we have got a perpetuity of 1000 rupees per year, and the interest rate applicable to this is 10% per annum, what is the present value? So if we have a look at this simple formula, we only need two amounts. That is, the amount of installment, and the other amount is that of interest rate. So when we divide the amount of installment with the interest rate, we get the present value of a perpetuity. So in this case, this comes out to be 10,000 rupees. So this explains the concept that perpetuity is something for which we can calculate the present value, but we cannot calculate its future value.